Story recapped here. Today I'm going to explain a horror, mystery, science fiction, and thriller film called The Void. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. During a chaotic night, James escapes from a farmhouse and into the woods. A woman follows him outside, but she gets shot in the process. Vincent and his son, Simon, douse her with gasoline, and Vincent throws a lit cigarette on her, burning the woman to death. As they leave to follow James, a masked man watches her in flames without offering an ounce of help. An officer named Daniel Carter is on duty near the area when he finds the struggling James crawling along the road. Daniel approaches him to help, thinking that the young man just might be drunk. Upon seeing his state, the officer rushes him to a nearby hospital where Allison Fraser, his estranged wife, works as a nurse with her colleague, Beverly. The building has been mostly abandoned following a fire, leaving the staff working as a skeleton crew. Among them is Kim, who is a medical intern tending to a patient named Cliff. In the waiting area, Daniel greets Ben and his pregnant granddaughter, Maggie. They talk about the fire and the town's lack of improvements. In the middle of their conversation, Daniel hears James shouting from his room, until Dr. Richard Powell calms him down with a sedative. Dr. Powell suggests the man has undergone some severe trauma. While examining James's body, Allison identifies him from his ID and notes the multiple needle marks on his arm. Later that evening, as Daniel and Allison catch up, Dr. Powell interrupts them to report how it would take a while for James to recover enough to disclose what happened to him. Before leaving, Dr. Powell expresses his empathy for the ex-couple who had just lost their child, advising that they should take the time to grieve and move on. While Daniel walks along the hallway, he notices Beverly inside Cliff's room. Her face is morbidly flayed as she stabs Cliff in the eye. She turns around and proceeds to skin herself. Daniel attempts to calm her down, but Beverly continues to approach him, scissors in hand. She makes a move to attack, forcing Daniel to shoot her fatally. The loud gunshot prompts the rest of the hospital staff to run to the room, shocked to see their dead colleague. Still phased, Daniel explains what happened before going to the bathroom, where he collapses due to shock. While seizing, Daniel sees strange visions of dark skies and barren land, where a large triangular object looms. As Daniel gains consciousness, Dr. Powell and Allison assist him, informing him that a state trooper is already there to take over the situation. The two advise Daniel to rest, but he insists on getting back on duty. State Trooper Mitchell awaits Daniel in the hallway, informing him about the bloodbath at the farmhouse. With James as their prime suspect, Mitchell suggests putting him under their custody. According to Mitchell, James has a long list of drug-related issues and may have given Beverly something for her to act that way. Mitchell confiscates Daniel's gun, disappointed with how he handled the situation. With the phone lines down, Daniel heads outside to report Beverly's death from his patrol car but receives no response. In front of his car stands a cult member wearing a white robe with a black triangle on the face. When Daniel confronts him, the lights start to shut down, distracting him from the robed man who attacks him with a knife. Despite being wounded, he manages to get up but sees other cult members slowly surrounding the building. Daniel retreats to the hospital, where the rest prevent him from bleeding out. Meanwhile, Beverly's body starts twitching while a disturbing-looking creature comes out of her mouth. When Daniel regains consciousness, the cult members standing eerily with blades in their hands. With no way to call for backup, the people in the hospital are suspicious of what the cult wants. Suddenly, they hear a scream from one of the rooms where they see James fighting for his life. Handcuffed to the bed, James tries to maintain the farthest distance from Beverly, who has now transformed into a tentacled monster. Confused by the sight, Mitchell freezes while Daniel tries to get James out of the room. After firing gunshots at the creature, who seems immune to bullets, the three leave and close the door behind them. Daniel gathers the rest, arming himself with an axe as he plots to fight their way out of the building. The situation escalates when Vincent and Simon enter the lobby and hold them at gunpoint, commanding them to hand over James. All while the creature is overtaking Beverly's body. James refuses to go with Vincent and Simon, and in return, threatens to kill Maggie. The concerned doctor tries to rescue Maggie by approaching James, but he only gets stabbed in the neck. Unbeknownst to them, the creature creeps onto Mitchell, its tentacles enveloping his body. Daniel attempts to rescue him, but he's too late. The creature crushes Mitchell's eyes. The creature throws Daniel off just as Vincent and Simon arrive. The two shoot it on the head and chops it down until it dies. Daniel rushes back to the others, asking everyone to hide in the office as he handles the situation. Vincent and Simon reach them, arguing with Daniel. After the horrors the two have seen, which resulted in Simon's injured vocal cords, Vincent refuses to trust the group and attempts to kill Daniel. Simon stops him from doing so, thinking that they must work together to escape the hospital. With no other information other than the possibility of the creature waking up again, they set Mitchell's body on fire and will it outside to prevent it from taking the creature's form. They head to the office, finding Maggie close to labor. Vincent's continued aggression causes the rest to panic. Allison expresses to Daniel the urgency to gather medical supplies in the basement for Maggie's delivery. Despite the danger, Daniel relents, but he needs to arm himself first. He plots with Vincent and Simon to retrieve his shotgun from his patrol car. In the dark, they find Daniel's car parked farther than when he left it. The cult is nowhere in sight. Meanwhile, the group transfers Maggie to another room, where they lay her down as she begins to go into labor. Not wanting to wait anymore, Allison ventures to the basement alone to gather supplies. A resurrected Dr. Powell stands behind her. Simultaneously, Daniel activates the car's strobe lights, revealing the cult in front of them, hiding in the dark woods. One attacks Simon, and Daniel saves him. They rush back inside the hospital. As they arrive back in the building, Daniel gets frustrated that Kim let Allison go alone, so he makes his way to the basement to rescue her. They notice the absence of Dr. Powell's body along the hallway, which used to lie under the cover, but they continue to look for Allison anyway. In the basement, a phone rings and reveals that Dr. Powell is on the other line, calmly revealing that he truly knows the reason behind what causes the tentacled creatures to appear out of the dead bodies. In a safety box, Vincent browses through pictures that indicate the doctor's participation in the vicious cult. Daniel gathers the medical supplies needed and leaves Kim in charge of Maggie's procedures. The pressure takes over Kim, putting her in a state of panic, as she is still in training. Without a choice, Kim, Van, and Maggie have to endure the fear of being left alone, while Daniel, Vincent, and Simon interrogate James after finding him among the photographs. Out of fear of being tortured, James reveals that Dr. Powell leads a group of people who engage in inhumane activities and has the power to transform people. The three of them force the distressed James to come with them down to the basement. He becomes more afraid after seeing the building surrounded by cult members. With the help of Kim through a radio, she leads them to the room they intend to go to, but the signal becomes shaky. After some time, Kim realizes that they took an unknown set of stairs that might lead to a dangerous place. As Allison regains her consciousness, she finds herself on an operating table while Dr. Powell explains that he found a new way to defy death. This stemmed from the devastating loss of his daughter, Sarah, causing him to resort to unconventional ways to maintain life. Confused by his words, Allison remains immobile because of drugs injected into her. She begs the doctor to spare her life, but according to him, it is too late. Now struggling to tend to Maggie, Kim has completely lost communication with the others and is now forced to inject a pain reliever on the pregnant young lady. Meanwhile, the group sees a room with a triangular symbol. Daniel is determined to find out the room's contents, despite Vincent's protest not to enter. In the operating room, Dr. Powell reveals that he will bring his daughter back to life through Allison. With a flayed face, Dr. Powell uncovers Allison's body where something rapidly grows inside of her. He says that she will turn into something remarkable just as her stomach moves uncontrollably. Back in the basement, Daniel, Simon, Vincent, and James enter the hidden room, surrounded by deformed bodies, corpses brought back to life by a sinister force. With disassembled bodies, the creatures gravitate toward the group to harm them. The corpses fill them with illusion, but Vincent, who phased for a bit, snaps out of it. With monstrous appearances and even superhuman strength, the corpses start attacking them. The four fight them before taking shelter in some corners of the room. Not shortly after, James attacks Daniel, but the officer manages to throw James off, allowing him to be dragged by a mangled creature. Upstairs, Maggie grows weaker as time passes by, and the more time she endures labor, the paler her skin looks, indicating that she might not last long. Fearful of the situation, Kim hesitates to perform an emergency C-section, but Ben pleads with her to gather her strength and save his granddaughter. However, Maggie stands up and slits her grandfather's throat before saying that she is the one carrying Dr. Powell's unborn child. A sense of new strength has captivated her body as her delivery nears. What was causing her pain is now fueling her strength. Kim looks at her with complete fear, but Maggie says not to worry as everything will be fine. Maggie's demeanor and personality have completely shifted as if something or someone is controlling her. Shortly after, Kim sees the cult members enter the building, making her run, but is again trapped by some who are by the door. She locks herself in a room to escape. As the three men get separated in the basement, Vincent and Simon hallucinate about being in their old home, where Vincent blames his son for losing their family. After blurting out hurtful words to his son, he proceeds to attack him. Simon lights a flare gun and drives it into Vincent's chest, snapping them both out of the illusion. After snapping back to reality, Vincent apologizes to his son, accepting his fate. Kim, hidden in the vents, tries to call Daniel for help, but the radio isn't working. She stifles a scream as a cult member comes close. Along the dark hallways, Daniel sees Allison inside the operating room in the full stages of the pregnancy, remembering how devastated they were when they lost their child. Dr. Powell's voice echoes in Daniel's mind, reminding him of how he looked relieved upon learning that their child died. Instantly, Allison transforms into a tentacled creature with slimy parts extending from her body. Refusing to allow Allison to become a monster, he brutally attacks his wife's mutated physique with an axe. Unconsciously, Daniel gets transported to a morgue with a giant glowing triangle where Dr. Powell claims that he has defied God after finding the ability to conquer not just life but also death. Moreover, he promises Daniel that he can reunite with his child again if and only if he is willing to die first. From behind, Maggie appears to stab Daniel before approaching Dr. Powell, who now appears to be skinless. Endearingly, Maggie kneels before him and looks with complete devotion as he recites a chant in front of the triangle which opens. After, Dr. Powell turns back to Maggie again and touches her head as if to bless her. Maggie sees visions of the creature in her body and panics. She screams until her stomach explodes, where a giant, monstrous creature is born. The doctor claims that it is Sarah who has now been reincarnated. Simon and Vincent shoot at the creature from a distance, but it follows them and is ready for bloody combat. The creature takes Vincent, and Simon attempts to save him. After seeing Simon nearly get dragged along, Vincent drenches it in isopropyl alcohol, ordering his son to set them ablaze. Simon hesitates, unable to kill his father. Vincent urges him, seeing a vision of his wife and baby behind his son just as the creature mutilates him. With sadness in his eyes, Simon throws the flare and watches his father in such a tragic state. Simon retreats into the vent, escaping the horror. At the same time, Dr. Powell informs Daniel that he can be reunited with Allison if he stops resisting and starts cooperating with his astral abilities. However, Daniel refuses to join him and tackles him, causing them to tumble into the void. Upstairs, the hallways shake as Simon runs from the monstrous creature. As the walls close in on them, Simon leaps forward, barely escaping before getting trapped inside. He checks behind him, finding the hospital looking normal. He's back to the real world, where he reunites with Kim. At daybreak, the cult members have entirely disappeared as if nothing happened. The void has taken Dr. Powell and his followers away, but Daniel and Allison hold hands in a different world under a black pyramid where they have reincarnated. In this dark place, they remain unharmed spirits trapped in a void, unsure if this is the end of them or just the beginning. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.